welcome to our session 1, first episode for real of Thirsty Sword Lesbians. This season does not have a title because I am not John Johnson, who is brilliant, but not the way I GM. I am Tess Huth, she, her pronouns, and I am our gay master.
Hi, I'm Mieko Gavia. I use she, her pronouns, and I am Malta Regina.
Hey y'all, I'm Leo. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and he, him, his, and I'm playing Rugosa.
Hello, I'm Johnson. I am used they and he pronouns, and I am play Nymeria Wu, who use she, her.
I am Percy. I use he, they, and z pronouns. I play Adelaide, who uses she, her pronouns.
I am Gina, and I'm playing Coney Shiversville, who uses she, they pronouns.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate those intros. And we're going to go ahead and just jump right on in. So we open on an overhead shot of the Untamed. At first, it looks like normal length grass with a squirrel scurrying through it. However, as we zoom in, it becomes evident that this grass is actually abnormally tall. It's 30 to 50 feet in the air, and the squirrel is sized to match. In the middle of this grass, we see a small column of smoke. Getting closer to the smoke, there is a small settlement, probably about 15 or 20 homes. And in the center of that circle of homes, we see a group of people dancing around a bonfire. We're at the funeral of one of the older members of the settlement. A young Black woman with a shaved head kneels close to the fire, planting a small seed in the ground. She says, "Ash returns to ash and new life begins." And with that, in honor of Aunt Agatha, let's do some shots. And people pass bottles around. They're laughing, singing, dancing, flirting. As you all know, and our audience knows, funeral and the Untamed are joyous occasions. So we're going to start with Coney, our scoundrel. Where are you in this situation? And if you're feeling so inclined, can you give us a brief description of your character?
Yes, I am standing on the sidelines, but also in the center of things at the same time. I didn't really know the person who has passed, and I appreciate being part of the community and being in the center of it all. I'm definitely engaging in the shot taking, as well as I have a couple of other bottles tucked in various pockets of my garb that I like to hand out and hand around depending on who's near me. So definitely the current afterlife of the party. That's a bad pun. So I have dark black hair that has an undercut to it. So it's long on one side, short, unshaved on the other. I'm very tall, at least 6 feet, and just broad-shouldered, and also very muscular biceps, things like that. And I just really love being part of the party. I noticed that Adelaide is looking at me, which is cool. Also, I wear one of those outfits that's part dress, part pants at the same time. And I have my very big decorative sword that is at the center of this awesome outfit. I also have another sword that is a flask, but not a lot of people know that. So that's where I am, and that's what I look like.
Perfect. Since we do see Adelaide looking at you, which we know because Percy dropped the eye emoji into chat, we're going to go ahead and jump over to Adelaide. Adelaide, where are you during this whole fiasco, shindig, shenaniganry?
Adelaide is sitting on a log, I think there's this sort of circle of logs around the fire, but set pretty far back. So there's lots of room for dancing in between. So she's kind of on the opposite side of the fire from Coney, sitting and quietly throwing little twigs for Pepper, her eerie companion, ghost dog, to go and fetch and bring back to her. And it's just sort of sitting quietly and is definitely keeping an extra special eye on Coney. Kind of can't look away from Coney but is also just sort of seeing what's up and feeling like she wants to be adjacent to what's going on, if not exactly a part of it. Adelaide is kind of like short and kind of skinny and has like really like awkwardly sort of long arms, like is very sort of not super comfortable in her body. She's wearing like a pinstriped pink and peach shirt and a little bow tie, and some like linen pants. And of course her elaborately embroidered green and pink train conductor sash. She has red hair that's done in 2 little space buns on the top of her head, and she has kind of short little bangs. And she wears a pair of round wire-framed glasses.
Terrific. And speaking of people who I assume are on the outside, but I might be surprised, Nymeria Wu, where are you during this party?
So I think Nymeria, who is, I think, the equivalent of like a foreign exchange student here, dressed up for what she suspected would be like a more proper funeral, quote unquote. So I think she's dressed in like a long black gown that is well at odds for the style of dance that is required, which in my head is like twerking and lots of flailing. And she is not suited for any of that. So I think she's seated on one of the logs. She's like head slightly downcast, and like secretly enjoying the way the firelight plays shadows on her face. But she's got her hands folded neatly in her lap, looking as prim and as uncomfortable as possible. And I imagine that at some point someone hands her a shot and she just looks at it absolutely nonplussed and will probably look over to Rugosa for guidance.
Excellent. And would you like to describe yourself before we jump over to see what Rugosa offers for you?
Oh yeah, so she's there in her long black gown right now. Her hair is neatly tied up in a single bun towards the back with a nice like golden like little phoenix comb keeping it in place. And she's done her makeup very like carefully, considerately, trying to like do enough but not too much because it's a funeral. And then like has nails very neatly painted, probably like has some little crushed gems in them as well, just for a little like elegance. And then very I think she's very, very slender, very like the sort of Chinese beauty ideal, right? Like pale, slender, and silent.
Excellent. And as Nymeria looks over to Rugosa, Rue, what are you doing at this party?
Rugosa is juggling missions in this moment. One of these missions is to blend in. And so every now and then, Rue takes a shot and is just like, haha, yes, to grass. And then like tosses the shot over his shoulder while everybody else like has their head back taking it. Like, yes, delicious, delicious alcohol. While Rugosa feels like somewhat responsible for Nymeria having been her escort to this area, because Rue was raised in this very like ascetic, monastic, like possessions are to be shunned kind of world, being with the best dressed person at the party is a little bit like, oh, no, I'm not actually with her. I'm just helping. I'm not actually. But when she notices Nymeria looking to Rue for guidance, does another big show of a like, haha, yes, another drink, that of which I love. It demonstrates what they've been doing all night.
I just want to say, in that moment, I think Nymeria will nod and just chuck the shot glass over her shoulder into the grass.
The only thing better than drinking is drinking with good friends. My good friend. We're not actually that, but well, yeah, friends. We're all friends. Rue is built, like stacked, like muscles on muscles on muscles, but they're not actually that tall. Like it's not, so the muscle is pretty like, it's pretty stout muscle. They have like that deep kind of like bone deep tan that like you can tell they've just been standing on a ship like in the sun with little cover for most of their lives. And she's got a shock of bright, like almost white blonde hair that they've never like had it cut with anything like scissors. Every now and then, he just takes her sword ox to it and like cuts it all about. So it's quite shaggy, but they've tried to push it back for the occasion. I'll also say that Rue has heard tell of villainy in the area and of a certain villainous individual of which they know nothing about. They don't even have a name. They just know that there's villainy about, and so they're kind of like keeping her eyes open for villainy.
Terrific. And before we go to Rue's search for villainy and Nymeria's blending in and such, we got one more member of the party to check in on, and that is Malta Regina.
Yeah, so Malta Regina is kind of trying to keep a low profile, which is very difficult because she's very tall. She's a very imposing figure. She's built like one of those like shot put throwers from the Olympics, or just like a very sturdy, big body, like very muscly, but you can't really necessarily see all the muscle because she's very like a round figure, but like incredibly strong. And so, but she's like thick, thick and juicy. And she's got this like big mane of like orangish pink hair, which doesn't really, she stands out with it, which is why she covers it in like a big like hooded cloak. And she wears a lot of earth tones so she can kind of blend into the grasses. And her giant sword is kind of like, it's strapped to her back, but she's like wrapped it in a bunch of like stuff and put a couple of like unassuming pots and pans and all sorts of stuff under it. So people just think it's like a big carry-all bundle. People don't notice that it's actually a sword. She's like, nothing to see here, folks. So she is like kind of weaseling in, just like taking some alcohol and kind of like shuffling back to the back of the camp so that she can kind of drink it in private. So she sits on a log, like just outside of the action enough where people don't notice her, but inside enough where she's not like in danger herself. So she's like at the edge of the firelight. And so she's just like drinking, and she can drink a lot. She can hold her own, but she's actually a little tipsy, which is uncommon for her because she's just like, that aunt was actually one of her carousing buddies back in the day. So she is just like, I got to give it up.
Awesome. And we've got a couple people on the outskirts at the moment, and a younger individual, like 18, 19, very much like, I'm going to use the word frat bro in the most like gender neutral version of that word possible. A frat bro named Diercksen, who uses she, sir pronouns, comes like up to the three of you who are on the edge and like starts dancing, not like aggressively, but just like very much that person at a party who's like, yo, you're on the outskirts. I'm going to make you join whether you want to join or not. I think C goes up to Adelaide first and is just not a good dancer. C is energetic. C is enthusiastic, but C is bad. Adelaide, how do you react to this?
Why are you doing this? She says in like a stage whisper.
That response definitely takes like Sir off guard a little bit, and sees like, and because C doesn't have anything else to say, Diercksen immediately moves on and goes over to Coney.
I guess he didn't need anything. And Adelaide goes back to throwing sticks.
Coney, I am so excited to dance. Sure, why not? Let's all dance. I love it. And my favorite way to dance is flailing my arms about and not really moving my legs. So there's a lot of flailing up here and not a lot of movement down there. And that's the way we're going to dance. Declan, what's up?
And Declan is super into it. Declan has 3 different like flasks on their belt and like pulls one off and offers it to you.
Yeah. Do you want one of mine? Do you want to do a switch? I take out one of mine. It's in the shape of a rose. Do you want it? Rose stuff.
Their eyes light up and like tosses you Sir Flask and then like reaches and I don't think waits for you to pass yours over, just like grabs yours from your hand and
Awesome.
is like, cheers.
Cheers, yes. And I take a huge swig and it tastes rancid. What is this?
And C is like, oh, it's grass wine. Like it's the best. Like local delicacy. Honestly, I make it like, you know, back in my like little cabin there. It's, you know, like a special homebrew kind of thing.
That is so cool that you make your own grass wine. I hope that you find a person that loves it as much as you do. Here you go. I'm going to take mine back. Thanks.
C does not realize how backhanded of a compliment that is. And like reaches for your hand and is like pulling you back towards Adelaide because C is determined to get Adelaide to dance. And like tries to like not like aggressively sandwich. It's not like a like we're pressing our bodies against you. It's just like we are now on either side of Adelaide. Just like a respectful distance away, dancing to try to encourage her to join. And Adelaide, you now are surrounded by Declan, who's this bro, and Coney, who you were eyeing up earlier.
As Declan brings Coney over, the breath catches in Adelaide's throat. Are the two of you like sitting down, or are you kind of standing on either side and she's like in the middle sitting on the log?
Declan is definitely standing. And Coney, what about you?
Is Adelaide still sitting?
Yeah, she's still sitting down. She's just sort of looking confused, and doesn't really like doesn't understand that this is an invitation to dance. She's just sort of like, why are you here?
I continue to aggressively move my upper body and arms as I make eye contact with Adelaide. And even though I was laughing, and I am laughing and smiling, something catches in my eye when I look at Adelaide's eye. And that kind of makes the flailing more of a wave versus a frantic.
Adelaide kind of tilts her head to the side and does like at a sporting event, does like a wave and kind of cocks her head to the side.
I laugh and I say, come on. That's one of the best dance moves I've ever seen, and Coney does it too.
Okay. She turns around and she says, kind of quietly, "Stay, Pepper." And she gets up, and she starts to just do the wave.
Just doing a quick check-in. Are either of you smitten at this point?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to verify. It sounded like we might have had a moment there, so wanted to double check. Perfect. The other person on the outskirts at this moment, kind of hanging out towards the side, Rue was kind of there watching, also kind of in the middle. Nymeria was also there. Malta, Regina was also there. Everyone was kind of on the outside. But Malta, Regina, we're going to stick with you. You see this, I'm going to call it a spectacle happening. What is your reaction to all of this?
I think it's really funny. And I'm like trying to giggle, but like to make it like I start giggling and then I catch myself because thugs aren't supposed to giggle. So I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's some cute shit. Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's at this point that Rue and Malta Regina, you both probably realize this before anyone else, because both of you are... Rue, you are looking for, like, shady things, shady people. And Malta Regina, you are already watching and also, like, are familiar with the shadier side of things. There is a young individual, probably, I'm going to say 26, 27, with, like, braided hair, like, shaved all the way around with, like, one braid off the top of their head. And they're not someone you recognized earlier. They're, like, slinking through the area, trying really hard to blend in, almost in the same way that Nymeria was, like, trying to blend in, where it's like, they don't know the customs, but they're trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. So, Rue or Malta Regina, do you want to do anything about this at the moment?
I think Rue calls attention to them, maybe just like lifts up a glass and says, "Friend, you do not have a drink. You would like one?" So that they are a little bit more conspicuous to everybody else as well. And without waiting for a reply, goes on over to them, brings a second drink.
Perfect. Are you like trying to find out more information on them? Or are you just trying to, like, for lack of a better word, corner them?
Yeah, is this a time I could use figure out a person?
I think it's absolutely a time you could use figure out a person.
Maybe I will try to figure out a person.
Perfect. For our first move in the game, figure out a person. When you try to understand a person, roll plus wit. And then we'll see what you get, and we'll give you the success or fail condition based on that.
Great. Could you remind me what kind of thing I'm rolling?
Yep, you're going to roll 2 6-sided die, 2d6.
Great. Here we go.
And then you'll add your wit to that.
My wit is +0, if you haven't guessed yet. Oh, that's a 4.
Perfect. Rue, since you did fail that roll, go ahead and mark experience. When you fail a roll, you will get experience towards leveling up. Because we're doing a short run campaign, we're going to be leveling up at 3 experience as opposed to 5, like it normally is. So make sure you mark that down. They take the drink and, like, do the thing that, like, you do at weddings, where you, like, link arms with the person that you're, like, getting the drink from, like a bride and groom would do, or bride and bride, etc. And they make direct eye contact with you and just take a, like, long and slow drink.
Rue realizes that she's caught, and I think he does the same. Maintains eye contact, takes a deep swig. He doesn't, like, swallow it right away. It, like, stays in their cheeks as long as it can, and she just kind of nods and is like, like, swishes it around a while before finally swallowing it. Ah, yes, that's how that tastes.
So good. And they, like, unhook their arm from yours and, like, without saying anything, like, place their hand on your cheek and then promptly turn and walk away.
Wait, the face is touched. That's not a kind of touch that Rue is used to, and Rue is confused and curious, and I think is feeling a little beaten in, like, the earlier attempt of figuring this person out, so doesn't pursue, but is going to keep intense watch of this person for the rest of the night. Like pretty laser focused. The blinders are on.
Perfect. And they go right up to Nymeria. As smooth as they were with Rue, they sit right next to Nymeria. And I don't know where they got another drink from. Like, no one really saw them grab one, but they have a drink in their hand and offer it to Nymeria.
Nymeria slightly scooches away and accepts the drink with a thank you and promptly throws it over her shoulder.
They look really taken aback by that. And like, you can tell they're not sure if they want to be offended or if they're impressed. They kind of stand there for a moment and then they're like, okay, good to know that you're allergic to alcohol?
No, I'm celebrating.
By not drinking.
Yes.
Okay.
What are you doing to celebrate?
I mean, I'm just looking for the most exquisite people here.
Then you have a very difficult task.
I think I've already achieved it.
And Nymeria looks around, completely oblivious, and goes, no, there are so many more people here.
Is Rugosa in earshot for this? Just curious.
Is Rugosa in earshot for this?
Yeah. I think based on our earlier interaction with Nymeria, maybe we were. I think that they are like kind of doing the thing like over this person's shoulder, like facing Nymeria. They're like trying to like make eyes and be like, hey, do you need help? Do you want me to get in there? You good? But once they hear that they've already met the most exquisite person, their heart stops because they genuinely believe it could be. Rue genuinely believes it could be them.
Amazing. They don't notice Rue watching them, but they are so taken aback by everything happening with Nymeria right now. Like, it's just not what they were expecting.
Once you've collected all the most exquisite people, what do you intend to do with them?
They pause, and they're like, no, I'm not like making a circus.
Why would you make a circus?
No, I'm trying to hit on you.
Oh, Nymeria draws her sword.
I should have realized that was going to be the response. Are you going to engage, or are you just going to like, is this just a preparation in case you need to?
Oh, it's a preparation. She says, if you want a duel, all you have to do is ask.
And I think that they are actually kind of really into the idea of like dueling as flirting.
Because thirsty sword lesbians?
So yeah, they're going to like clear a space, and the crowd is a little drunk and also just like already really here for like flirting and dancing and rebel rousing and such. And so they start like cheering and encouraging the two of you to do the thing. So yeah, I'm gonna say Nymeria, if you want to, you could use fight here if you're trying to like actually win this, or you could try to figure out a person if you're trying to like get information from that.
Yeah, I don't think Nymeria understands that there's information to be got here. I think she just thinks it's a duel. So I think she's going for
Perfect. All right, go ahead and roll to fight for me. That move is plus daring or plus grace, depending on how you're fighting.
Grace, because I'm using a very thin, slender sword, and that's going to be an 8.
Perfect. So when you seek to incapacitate someone with violence, roll plus daring or plus grace. So on a 7 or 9, you'll choose 2 from the list, and your opponent is going to choose 1. So you'll flirt or provoke your opponent, gain a string on them. Through violence or cutting words, inflict a condition. You'll create an opportunity for an ally through prowess or distraction, or you'll take an object from them and seize a superior position.
I think through to follow this through, I think we will go with violence to inflict a condition. And I also, by the end of it, would like to take their sword.
Perfect. Their sword it looks like it is woven from like thousands of blades of grass, but not like woven into a whip. Like it looks like it's woven around something. So it's this like long and really sturdy pole with blades of grass wrapped around it in this like sharp pattern. And yeah, they get to choose one in response. And I think they pull you really close at one point while you are doing this, probably right before you get their sword. And they're like 4 or 5 inches away from your face. And then they wink at you. And even you realize that this is just blatant flirting.
Yeah, Nymeria blushes, but also looks absolutely aghast. And I think in that, like, it's the confusion, like the sudden panoply of emotions that are occurring. And I think she responds by like twisting and slapping their hand with the flat of her sword and disarming them.
Perfect. And they pull back, and you see for a moment this like almost betrayal in their eyes. And before they can do anything else, the ground around you all starts to rumble. And it's like pulsing rumbles. It's not like one continuous earthquakey rumble. It's like, you know the scene in Jurassic Park where someone is walking and you see the like ripples on the cup of water? It is very much that. Something is walking near this like settlement campground area. In the Untamed, it is really common for these kinds of things to happen, though this is much louder than normal. But like people don't really freak out. People just like immediately break and just start going for like their cabins, their tents, etc., and just breaking everything down to move. And they start looking to you, Adelaide, because one of the most common ways for them to like get out of an area quickly is to use your train.
I think when the rumble happens, Gina, feel free to veto this. Adelaide grabs Coney's hand and very quickly lets go of it after she realizes, like, just kind of unconsciously grabs it and then is like, oh, right, the train. And she runs to get the train set up.
When Adelaide grabs my hand, my heart does a dance inside of itself, and my whole chest feels warm.
Oh, so good. Checking in once again. Coney, are you smitten?
Coney hates to admit it and will never admit it out loud, but to the void, yes. I'll admit that I'm smitten.
Terrific. So, when you become smitten with someone, which is always your choice, you'll say why, you'll give them a string on you, and then you're going to answer the question in your playbook where it says truth of heart and blade. There'll be a question there, and you will answer that.
I give Adelaide a string. And my question is, why would your romance never last? And the answer is simple. Because Adelaide is everything. And you can't hold everything all at once. So our romance will never last. Even though I long to ride trains with her all day.
All right, so I'm smitten with Coney.
I'm going to say for posterity for the podcast that I'm legitimately tearing up a little bit.
Oh my gosh. I want to see this become a series. Not an HBO Max series because they would cancel it, but like I want to see it come to fruition for real.
Meanwhile, Adelaide is fully in business mode. Like, I gotta help everybody get out of here. Like, this is my job, and is like running to the train.
Excellent. Pepper is part of like the train process for you, right?
Yes.
So what does that look like as Pepper like jumps in to help you?
I think I recently taught Pepper how to operate the train on his own, and I trust him more than I trust any of the unseen, because they'll do tricks, and I know Pepper won't, because he's my companion. So I think as I'm like flipping switches and stuff and like getting the like navigation area all set up and ready to go, like Pepper is just ready at the like lever at the back to start propelling it when I tell him to.
Perfect. And we see you already there, prepared to move. I want to check in with Malta Regina. Malta Regina, it's been a while since you like did this drill, since you jumped into that like action point. Or is this something that you feel rusty about, or is this something that you're like, oh no, this is drilled into us, I know exactly what to do here?
I think I know exactly what to do. You know, it's been a while since I've been in this town, but being a bandit, you got to pick up and move really fast. You know, I had set my sword down, I hoist my sword up, and I start booking it to the train, but then I stop in my tracks and I'm like, they're not going to let me on this train, are they? Shit. I got to figure out what to do here. So I'm looking around to see if there's something that's going to disguise me a little bit more so I can get on this train without people really recognizing my face, because I'm like, if anybody's going to know who I am, it's going to be Adelaide. So I really got to like up my disguise game.
Perfect. I'm going to say that sounds like a defy danger roll. So when you push your limits to achieve something extraordinary that's not covered by another move, or to avert an imminent danger to yourself or someone else, say what you're willing to sacrifice and then pick your approach. So let's start with, what are you willing to sacrifice to, get on this train?
I am willing to sacrifice my dignity, because I'm like really like independent. Like, I don't need anybody. Like, I can do this on my own, but this is really like, it's going to hurt for me to be like, please let me on this train. Or it's going to hurt for me to like, even though I'm disguised, to be like, please let me on this train. Like, disguising and sneaking onto a train is very vulnerable. It feels very vulnerable.
Absolutely. So you've got a couple options to how you're going to approach the situation. You can approach it with might, endurance, or courage. You can approach it with swiftness or elegance, with charm or social insight, with cleverness or knowledge, or with willpower or metaphysical skill.
I'm not very good at the charm, but I'm going to try it.
Excellent. So you're going to roll a 2 6-sided die, 2d6,
Okay.
plus your heart.
All right. And I just want to let everybody know that I've got my new dice that I got for my birthday. So one of them is like a pinkish purple sparkly Sailor Moony dice, and then the other one's this like moody nebula glitter dice. So they fit perfectly for this game.
I love that.
Okay, so I got a 4 and a 3. So it's 7 altogether.
Perfect. And is your heart a +0?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So on a 7 and 9, I'm either going to offer you a hard choice, or you can be successful with a sacrifice.
Okay.
So your hard choice, and you can either do this or you can succeed with a sacrifice. Your hard choice is that you will get this done, but Pepper is going to see you. You're not going to know that Pepper is going to see you, but you, the player, know that Pepper is going to see you, which will inevitably alert Adelaide that you're on the train, and that, the person who previously robbed Adelaide several times over is now trying to use her services to get away from this catastrophe.
Crap. Or I can succeed, but at a cost. That's my other option.
Right, which would be you're sacrificing your dignity.
Okay. I think I'm going to sacrifice my dignity.
Perfect. So there's two different ways you can do this. So there is a like bucket of food, like veggies and like fruit that are like right on the cusp of their like you should not use anymore date, that you can dive into if you want to like hide there. Or there's a whole like area of like children's toys and children's costumes that is getting packed up. And you are more than welcome to grab any of those children's costumes and disguise yourself in something over the top and ridiculous.
I'm going to disguise myself with the children's costumes. So
Perfect.
I'm going to put on a feather boa and one of those glasses with a fake nose on it. And it's got a little mustache attached. And then I'm going to put on like a fun hat with a flower on it so it makes me seem less intimidating. And I'm like, don't mind me, just one of the regular townsfolk. And I like twirl my mustache like, ha-ha! Nothing to see here.
Just to say, Rue has given themselves the job of like being the last one on. They've just decided that that's the thing they have to do. And so they see this very fancy person with a fancy glasses and boa start to move past them and be like, quickly, you're going to miss the train.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're
fellow
welcome.
law-abiding citizen.
Oh, you're welcome, fellow law-abiding citizen. My goodness, it's good to see a person of fellow spirit.
Yes, toodaloo.
Toodaloo, of course, yes.
And we see Malta Regina run towards the train right past Nymeria. Nymeria, you have not been in this region for long at all. This is all still relatively new to you. So my first question, have you been around for any of these like mass exoduses?
Let's say no.
Perfect. Did anyone warn you about these?
I'm sure they did as part of like the cultural exchange. But does being told about it versus experiencing it for the first time, like, I think it's one of those things where like, you know, it's like, oh, I remember, and it's just all out the ears. And so, because Nymeria is standing there with a recently disarmed opponent's sword, and then the earth starts rumbling, and I think she goes, oh no, I must have violated a commandment.
And your opponent looks at you and they're like, first time?
Dueling? No. She waves their sword at them.
And they gesture to everyone like packing up their stuff and rapidly leaving. And they're like, no, with all this.
With a panic? No. I understand panic well.
They like take a deep breath and then they're like, how much stuff do you have?
Trunks and trunks.
And they're looking around, and I think they see Coney. And they like wave their hand at Coney to be like, hey, can you help Nymeria get these trunks?
Of course. How many trunks do you have?
3.
Oh, that's no problem. I'm going to lift one on one shoulder and one on the other shoulder. Can you get the last one?
And Nymeria will nod and look agog at the thought of someone lifting 2 trunks.
What do you have in here?
Mostly clothes and books.
Oh, what kind of clothes?
And she indicates her like gown.
Wow, that's very... Let's get on the train.
And we see the whole crew of you. I think, Rue, you're the last one on. Again, this is efficient. Besides Nymeria and like one or two other like guests to the area, everyone knows exactly what they're doing. Stuff is packed up quickly and everyone is on the train tracks. Rue, do you want to like take one last look around or are you going to just jump on?
I think that I'll have like one foot up on the step and one foot on the ground. Like my hand is on the rail so the train can start moving. But if I can catch sight of whatever this thing is, I'm going to try my damnedest.
Perfect. That's not going to be hard because as the train starts moving, as it starts rolling out, a very large foot lands on the train tracks no more than 30 feet in front of you. Adelaide, how quick can this train stop?
Probably not super fast, although it's barely gotten started, so it's not like it's moving at its full speed, but I think it's 30 feet's gonna cut it close.
Perfect. You've got a move where you can like call upon the unseen, correct?
I can commune with the unseen in a ritual, and I can also get help from Pepper to defy disaster.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and have you defy disaster then.
Hell yeah.
And it sounds like you're going to be doing that with spirit because metaphysical skill.
Yes, I think that's true. I think Pepper is like is like working with the lever to try and get it to stop its momentum.
I'm getting full like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Max the Dog vibes.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be an 8.
Perfect. So on a 7 and 9, the GM will offer you a hard choice, or you'll succeed with a sacrifice. I should have asked first. What are you willing to sacrifice for this to work?
Adelaide would be willing to sustain damage to the train in order to keep all the people safe.
So I will offer you a hard choice. If you and Pepper disconnect like your part of the train, the rest of the train will be able to come to a stop, but the two of you will be disconnected as like this, whatever it is marching along. Or you can take some damage to the train.
Adelaide sees the foot land on the tracks and turns around and catches Rue's eye and shouts to them, "Keep everyone safe," and then pulls the pin connecting the front car from the rest of the train. So I will disconnect the front part.
The rest of the train stops as you and Pepper keep going. Right as the monster's foot is lowering again towards the tracks where you two now are.
Dungeons and Drama Nerds is produced by Todd Backus, Percival Hornak, and Nicholas Orvis, and is mixed and edited by Anthony Sertel Dean. Our Thirsty Sword Lesbians campaign features Gina Femia as Coney Shiversville, Mieko Gavia as Malta Regina, Percival Hornak as Adelaide, John Johnson as Nymeria Wu, Leo Mock as Rugosa, and this game is game mastered by Tess Huth. If you'd like to help us continue exploring the intersection of theater and tabletop role-playing games, consider leaving us a review on your podcast app of choice or supporting us and getting access to our patron-only bonus content at patreon.com/dungeonsanddramanerds. You can find our social media and website links, including our cast bios, at the link tree in our show notes. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Dungeons and Drama Nerds.